What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be previewing Port Adelaide's round 16 clash against St Kilda at the Adelaide Oval this Saturday afternoon at 4:05 PM. It's a twilight game. We're back at the Adelaide Oval for the first time in a couple of weeks, and it's the first day game we've had since the showdown back in round 8, so it's going to be an interesting affair against the Saints, who are in pretty good form. Let's check out this game and have a look and see what it looks like it's going to bring. I can't believe it's round 16 already. We're back at the Adelaide Oval for the first time since Melbourne a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night. Our first day, night, or twilight game since the showdown. We haven't played in the day for a while at the Adelaide Oval, so it's going to be a very intriguing game against the Saints, who are in pretty good touch at the moment. They've won their last couple, especially the good win against Melbourne last week. The only thing I'd say is that both their games have been by less than a goal, which might make things a bit more interesting, but they've definitely got their confidence back a bit, and their tails are up. So Port Adelaide have got to be wary of an upset that could brew this weekend. It's a massive danger game for us, especially since St Kilda, obviously, as I just said, in pretty good touch, and I feel like we're coasting a bit now. Our 3 wins at home were really good. The Richmond game was awesome. Western Bulldogs was a comfortable win. The Melbourne game was just out of the blue for us to come back. And then last week was a bit dodgy, and I felt I wasn't quite confident last week, but we did get the job done. So we're finding ways to win games. The only thing is now we need to, I'd say, turn it up a notch and really show that we can play 4 quarters of football. You know, St Kilda are down near the bottom 4. They're still in good form, and they're definitely a bogey team when it comes to them being in good touch. So I think most people had the Saints in the top 8 this year. Obviously, things haven't gone their way, but now they're finding some form and really picking off sides, and they can really shape the 8 for the rest of the year. So Port Adelaide have got to be very much wary of that, and especially coming to the Adelaide Oval, it's going to be a very interesting affair, that's for sure. But look, to be honest, coming to the Adelaide Oval, St Kilda have nightmares, because if you remember correctly, the last time we played them, this happened.
They have to just watch and see how it plays out. Ryder over the back in the path of Robbie Gray. He's a superstar for the power. He goes long and they've got the legs. Yes! Robbie Gray's kicked a big goal. And the power on the cusp of a great victory.
So it's not the best of flashbacks for St Kilda fans, and I do bring it up quite a bit in my videos because, you know, it's one of the best moments ever. But besides the point, that was what happened last time against St Kilda. So it is crucial for us. Well, I'd like to repeat that, but I feel like we need a convincing win this weekend, turn the notch up a bit, and get our season really rolling and really start proving some points and take away all the doubts that some people may have because we're still not that quite convincing yet. Yes, maybe we should have smashed Carlton last week. That's not the point. The point was that in the end, our class rose above Carlton, and I think the same should happen this weekend, but it's got to be consistently 4 quarters. That's the main thing I want to put out there for Port. This is going to be a 4-quarter performance, and we've got to really prove ourselves against a lowly ranked side. And we do need a bit of percentage, and I'm not saying this is a percentage game because it's still very much a danger game. But look, I feel like that one of these games we're going to drop when we shouldn't. I don't want to be that team. We've got to be that team that beats the sides they should and then picks off the top teams and becomes a really reliable top-ranked side. And that's what Port Adelaide are going to focus on this week. It's crucial for our midfield this week to really put the foot down. I feel like they have been quite sleepy early in games, especially last week. They were, you know, the other players stood up last week, like Rockcliffe, Wingard, Westhoff. They all stood up there. I feel like players like Wines and Pollock and Ebert, I think they dropped the ball a little bit there, and they were quite fumbly and they didn't really get into the game much. They had their 20-odd possessions, but they really didn't have much effect. And the same against Melbourne. It took them all the way basically to the last quarter to really get going, and that second half was really crucial. Ollie Wines obviously best on ground in that game, but as a collective, our midfield have really got to push hard and players. A big group of players and not just rely on a couple here and a couple there to get so-and-so disposals. And Robbie Gray as well. I feel like we're probably playing predominantly in forward, and I'm happy to do that because he's a match winner down there. But I feel like in these sort of circumstances, if the midfield's not gelling as much in games, change it up a bit, put Robbie Gray in the middle a bit more, change up that percentage. So then as the game goes on, we can get things back on track and Robbie can go back forward. And, the midfielders can find other ways to get in the game. And the perfect response was against Melbourne when Pepper couldn't get the footy. He had 15 touches, but the thing was his pressure. His 17 tackles compared to, the other Melbourne players in the midfield, like Oliver and that, they all had 30-plus possessions. Same thing's got to happen this week. If we can't get one player into the game, then we'll do other things to get involved and try and find ways to have an impact on the game other than with your handballs and your kicking, because it's just as important. The good news out of that, though, is the fact that Port Adelaide have beaten St Kilda the past 6 times since 2011. So 6 wins in a row against St Kilda, and obviously the last one was so special. But St Kilda, I think, come against Port Adelaide and really, they're always good games of footy, I feel. And once again, I have no doubt this one will be as well. But 6 wins in a row against a team. We don't usually get strings of wins against certain teams a lot. 6 wins against the Saints over the last 7 years or so. So, not bad. Not bad at all. So, that's a good positive for Port to come in, because we know we've got the wood on them a bit over the past few years. And it just shows that you keep that consistency going, you end up winning more games than not, especially against sides. Our defence is very crucial this week, I feel. They had no Jonas and no DBJ last week. And Trengove did really well going back, so I reckon he keeps his spot this week. Pittard looks like he's got a bit of hamstring soreness or some tightness there, so I feel like he'll drop out for probably DBJ. That'll probably be the only change, I feel. If so, maybe you'll see Jonas come in as well if he's fit to play, and then Homch will come out, because I feel like Jonas is just... he's in outstanding form, and he's got to be in the side whenever he possibly can be when fit. As for St Kilda, look, I feel their forward line is very potent with McCartan and Menbury. Gresham's in really good form, but I feel like if we can shut them down, their scoring power is not going to be as much. They scored 20, I think it was 19 goals last week, 18 goals. The week before against Gold Coast, I think they only scored 12 or 13. So if we can nullify their forward line, they don't have Battle this week. Josh Battle, who's been in pretty good touch for them. And Nathan Brown as well is out in their defence. So we might see Logan Austin come back into the side against his old side, Port Adelaide. So that'll be interesting if Logan Austin lines up on Big Charlie Dixon. That'd be a hell of a intriguing battle, that's for sure. No pun intended on Josh Battle, by the way. I just want to focus on a few key stats before we move on. I was mentioning all the midfield and all our pressure acts and stuff like that. It's a very intriguing basis to base on these stats, because if you look at this game, you base it on form. You think, yeah, it's going to be a close-ish game. It's not going to be too much of a blowout. You look at these stats though. They point in the other direction. Tackles, Port Adelaide first, St Kilda 15th. Clearances, Port Adelaide first, St Kilda 18th. Inside 50s, Port 5th, St Kilda 13th. You base it purely on that. Clearances to inside 50s, more shots on goal, more chances. If you take your chances, you're going to put a big score on the board. Port Adelaide need to focus on that accuracy in front of goal as well this week. 13 goals, 12 last week. Not good enough. They missed a few key set shots at crucial times as well. It's a bigger game, I think, and the weather's going to be okay by the looks of it too. So no rain for game time. So get to the Adelaide Oval. I don't want to see another 26,000 now. I want to see 40. Make the goal to be 40 this week. All right, predictions for this week. Let's start with the changes. I feel there'll be 3 changes this week. DBJ in for Pittard. Jack Watts will come in. He's been pretty good form in the Magpies, and I reckon Todd Marshall needs a rest. He just does not look ready. That's nothing against the fella. I know he's had a really tough time, but I feel like he needs just a little break to just recuperate and get some form and some footy back into his legs. And thirdly, if Jonas is fit, he comes back in for Homch, and that's just the third change. If Tom Jonas is fit and if Pittard doesn't turn up either. So we might go in with just the one change. We might go in with all 3, but they're my changes at the moment. The prediction for the end result, Port Adelaide, I reckon, will win by 5 or 6 goals. 35 points I've put down. I reckon it'll be one of those games where it toss and turns. You'd look like maybe St Kilda will make a fight back, but I reckon Port Adelaide will run away with it in the end. And my tip for best on ground, Ollie Wines, 30 disposals, 2 goals. Bit quiet last week. I reckon he'll step up and play a beauty against St Kilda. So I look forward to this weekend. It's going to be an absolute banger of a game, as I say. Just quickly as well, the SANFL, Port play the Woodville West Titans at Woodville Oval on Sunday, 2:10 p.m. Didn't get the result against Norwood last week, so Port Adelaide looked to fight back and get a result on the board, pushing for that top 5 spot, which I reckon they're on the verge. They need to win this game. It's a crucial game. It'll be tough over at Woodville Oval, but it's Port Adelaide. Play Port Adelaide footy, you'll get the job done. It's going to be a good weekend of footy. Well, Port fans, that wraps up this round 16 preview of Port Adelaide versus St Kilda. It's going to be a big weekend in footy. I look forward to it. Saturday afternoon. Thank you very much for tuning in on Spreaker through Port Fan Radio. If you have not heard of the podcast that I do with the Portress podcast, please head on into the description box and click on the link to listen to a few of our podcasts. 8 p.m. every Wednesday nights. The latest one is up and about, so check that one out as well. So every week, Wednesday, we talk all things Port Adelaide. And speaking of talking things Port Adelaide, subscribe to the channel if you are new for plenty more Port Adelaide content. Previews, reviews, vlogs. And I said vlogs, not flogs. And also heading to open training and talking to a few of the boys as well. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching, Port fans. My name is Anthony, and as always, can the pair.